Hi, I'm Dave. Welcome to Dave Takes It On. You find me today, Rugby Services on the M6. We're heading northbound near Preston. And we're here today to look at the EV chargers going in at the services here. And there are a total of 8 dual bay chargers. The model number on them is a 3000H, which we would understand to be a 300 kilowatt charger. So dual bay means at peak times 150 kilowatts each. At quiet times, 300 kilowatts to whoever's here. So we're going to have a look into Applegreen, who they are, what they do, where the money comes from, are they anything to do with the oil industry. So Applegreen themselves, Applegreen Group, was formed way back in 1992. It's a massive organisation over in America today. Last year was 3.6 billion turnover, a huge organisation, and they deal everything to do with petrol and cars. So it's petrol, sort of gas stations as they call them over there, gas stations, motels, hotels, the service stations on the motorways, the pit stops, whatever they call them. Huge organisation over there. They also have some interests in Europe. So they have hotels and motorway services in Europe and in the UK. But that's Applegreen Group, and they have nothing whatsoever to do with these as a group. Applegreen Electric, which is what we're dealing with here, they started only in 2021, 2 years ago. Now, they were formed from the original directors of Applegreen Group, so the same people at the top, but they got together with Blackstone. Now, for those of you who don't know, Blackstone is a massive investment bank, largest in the world. It handles something over $1 trillion of investment funds. So people invest in their funds and they invest in businesses that produce a return for their investors. So $1 trillion a year, Blackstone, absolutely huge. So they got together with the directors of Applegreen organisation and they formed a new organisation which is Applegreen Electric. It is independent, they bought up all the shares themselves, so it's a totally privately owned company, and all they do is renewable energy, everything to do with it. So it is grid connected batteries, it is wind farms, solar farms, it is EV charging, everything electric, renewable. Now, coming from a petroleum company to an EV electric company, many people would think, yeah, it's just greenwashing. However, it's a little bit more involved than that, because if you want to set up installing chargers and you want to get some of the investment that all the governments around the world are offering to people willing to invest in EV charging, you have to be green. You can't greenwash. So you have to have provable evidence that you are getting your energy from renewable resources, either your own resources or from the grid in general, or you are buying green credits, carbon credits, to match the amount of energy that's going into these, which goes into EV cars. You can't fudge that. So to get some of the investment, which will partially or completely fund the units, you have to be green. So the two companies are separate. Now, am I skeptical? Always am. However, I've seen nothing that gives me any suggestion that they are anything but genuine. The reason I say that is because an awful lot of businesses and private investors and corporate investors, Church of England is a good example, have now pulled all of their funding out of anything to do with petroleum, anything that either destroys the planet in getting it or destroys the planet when burning it. So the Bank of England, the Church of England, huge organisation, massive funds, and they've just pulled out. A lot of other companies have also done the same. And all around the world, there are green companies springing up looking to invest into green energy. So the old petroleum investments are on the decline, very much on the decline these days. They are dying off. They're not getting the return. People do not want to be seen to be investing in companies that go up to the Arctic and destroy the environment or produce a product that comes out the tailpipe, the exhaust of the cars, and kills people. So money is shifting. Investment money is shifting into renewables. Like it or not, doesn't matter, that's the shift. So there's a huge amount of money The American government with the IRA, the Inflation Reduction Act, huge investment into green energy, renewables, grid-connected batteries, everything like that. And that has to go green. It has to be green. Or if you're not green, you have to buy green credits from someone who is green. Now, Gridserve recently benefited from this because last year, many of you will remember, there was a British consortium, British investment bank or group of investment banks who got together and they raised £500 million, which they've invested into Gridserve. And Gridserve, right from the very beginning, very much like Tesla, were very much green anyhow, so they were on they had a head start on that. So there's £500 million gone into Gridserve. That is why wherever we go these days, we see Gridserve installations going in, 6 here, 12 there. We've been recently M56, Chester East. We've been to Roche Services on the M62, been to Hartshead Moor. There are massive installations going in all over the place. Now, Applegreen Electric are exactly the same. Huge investment from Blackstone. Don't forget, they have $1 trillion of funds available to them. So there's a massive investment going in, and this is setting up these chargers. So, whereas previously here, there were 2 Gridserve 50 kilowatt shared bay chargers for CCS2 cars. Talk about Tesla in a minute. We now have 8 of these dual bays. So there's 2 charging circuits, each of them CCS2. And these are Model 3000H, which we think are 300 kilowatt chargers. So these are beefy chargers. So 16 bays here. So gone from 2 shared at 50 kilowatt to 16 shared at 150 kilowatt or 300 if it's quiet. However, fly in the ointment, just over there is a Tesla Supercharger, and they are dedicated to Teslas only. So at the moment, if you have a Hyundai or a Kia or a Porsche Taycan or a BMW iX, you have to come here. It's the only CCS, well, unless you want to go over to the Gridserve 50 kilowatt and share that 25 kilowatts with someone else. It's not going to happen. So here, you've got no choice. If you're a CCS2 non-Tesla, you'll charge here. And the good chargers. Over there, if you've got a Tesla, you'll charge over there. No choice about it. However, the big difference is these are 79 pence per kilowatt hour. If you use their app, it drops 2p, 77 pence. Big deal. But what you have here is 79 pence. At this moment in time, the Teslas over there are 35 pence. Now, many of you will have seen my video about Tesla opening up their superchargers to everyone, to non-Teslas, places like Trenton Gardens. They've got the V3s and new V4s there, which are open to everyone. Now, what's going to happen when Tesla open those chargers to everyone? You will then, if you've got a CCS2 charging plug in your car, you'll have a choice. You can go over to Tesla at 35p, or you can come here at 79p. Ha! Well, yeah, no brainer. But the people who've invested the money, this is Blackstone, they are not stupid. They know what Tesla's doing. Tesla's always been doing it. They've never changed, and I don't believe they ever will change. So they know that Tesla's doing it. Now, recently, I was talking to the head of EV promotions for Gridserve, and he told me that when they first started looking into, when they started discovering that Tesla were opening up to non-Teslas, they believed that the difference between the two would only be in the region of 10 to 15 pence per kilowatt hour. And if you've got a really attractive hub somewhere, like Gridserve have at Braintree, then you might well go there and pay an extra 10p just for the facilities. Whereas against here, you've got a motorway services, which is, well, let's say not pleasant. So they believe there would only be a small difference. What's happening now with Tesla on the split tariffs, they have time tariffs, peak, off-peak and super off-peak. What you have is a massive difference. It's the difference between 79p here and 35p over there. It's half price. So the day that Tesla opens up that supercharger to non-Teslas at 35p at this time of day, these become redundant because all your Hyundais, your BMWs, Mercedes, everything, they're just going to go over there. 35p, why wouldn't you? If this one doesn't open up, just up the road, 4 miles, is a place called Walton Summit. And there is a brand new Tesla Supercharger being installed at the moment. It's opening up sometime in the next few weeks. 15 V4 chargers. Now the V4s, for people who don't know it, are the ones which have the LCD screen, like on this one, and they have the contactless terminal as well. Tesla Superchargers don't normally have that because Tesla cars don't need it. The Tesla car is linked in to the Tesla computer, and so when you go to one of those chargers, there's no screen, there's no terminal, you can't pay anything. All you do is you plug your car in, the charger interrogates the car, says, who are you? Do you have an account? It finds your account. It then starts the charging automatically, no buttons to press, nothing to do. And then when you take the plug out at the end of it, it then gets in touch with your bank or your credit or debit card, whichever you've chosen, and it will take the payment for it. So those over there, they are no controls on them whatsoever, no displays, no controls, no contactless. The V4s going in up at Walton Summit, they have the terminals, they have the screen, and they have the contactless. They also have the extra long cables. The cables on those are 4 meters long, so they will stretch to any car because not all cars have the same location for the charger port. So those are designed specifically for non-Tesla cars. We don't need the long cables, we don't need the screen or the contactless. They are designed for non-Tesla cars. So very shortly, that one, 4 miles up the road, just off the motorway, you come off the motorway on a slip road, you go round a roundabout, round another roundabout, and it's on your left. It's really handy, but that one will be up at 35p off-peak as well. These will stay at 79p, peak, off-peak, summer, winter, you name it, it'll be there. So someone heading north here, or coming down from the south, from the lakes, heading back home, if they need a charge, they've got a choice of 79p here, or they can stop off at the new Tesla Supercharger, the V4 chargers, and they can pay 35p. It's going to be an interesting year because this is going to start happening. We have lots of places, Rugby on the M6, Rugby Services, where there's a big 12-inch charger, Gridserve 350 kilowatt chargers, and there's 28 Tesla V3 250 kilowatt chargers on the same site. Exeter, there's 36, I think it is, 38 Tesla chargers, there's about 18 Gridserve chargers, absolutely monstrous installation. But on there, the Teslas are Teslas only and everything else is CCS2. We don't have a conflict. Once the Supercharger opens up the road, if that is open to everyone, nobody's going to use this. They'll happily use the Tesla because the Tesla will be the same price as the one up the road. But your BMW iXs, your BMW, your Mercedes, your Audis, or whatever it is, they'll have a choice. They can either come here, 79p, or go up to the brand new open to all Tesla Supercharger, which is 250 kilowatts, which is about flat out for most of those cars. Top of the range Mercedes, it's about 225, 230, I think it is, kilowatts. Top of the range Hyundai, 275, Porsche Taycan, 275. Those 250 kilowatt V4 chargers, they're pretty much flat out for most cars. So this is going to get really interesting, and I think this is all going to happen in the next 12 months. But of course, Blackstone Investments, they know all this. Now, they are getting funding from government to cover the cost of installation, cost of the equipment. It just made a crack, that's all, but there's a bubble there. So anyhow, so they've had the installation subsidised. Now, what I believe is happening, or what Gridserve have done, Gridserve was 69p, they've just increased it to 79p from the 1st of November. And the reason they've done that, I believe, is because sometime in 2024, we're going to have this battle where Tesla will open up that Supercharger to all. Tesla will open up Rugby Services to all, will open up Exeter to all. And at that point, all of the Tesla Superchargers will be available to non-Teslas. And these are just going to become redundant. Blackstone must know this is going to happen. Tesla's not going to back down. Tesla doesn't care about investments or anything. They care about promoting green energy, green driving, green transport, getting people into EVs. And that's why Tesla keep the prices down. Now, where's it going to go? I believe what's going to happen is we're going to end up with a situation where Tesla at the moment, at peak times, is quite a lot dearer. At peak times, places like the Trafford Centre, which is about 20 miles away, they're charging the best part of 50 pence per kilowatt hour. This place at peak times will be about 45 pence per kilowatt hour. So in peak times, Tesla is increasing the prices. Now, people are going to scream, oh, they're profiteering, ripping people off. Yeah, but you're already being ripped off. And I'll tell you why. It's because if you ever take kids on holiday in the school holidays, you're not going to find cheap hotels, are you? Right? The hotels have a captive audience. They can capitalize on families in the peak times. And they have to do that because they don't have enough business for the rest of the year. I lived down in Cornwall for 30 odd years of my life, working life. And down there in the winter, the hotels just close. There's no business. So they have a very short window in which to make all their money for the whole year. So consequently, school holidays, bank holidays, Easter, etc., prices go up dramatically. So we're already doing this. Don't blame Tesla for trying to profiteer. Blame your hotels in Ibiza or Tenerife or wherever it is you go. They do it as well. You'll also find other things during the season will go up. Quite normal. This is business. This is what people do. So what I think you're going to find is these are going to come down into the 50 pence range. And the Tesla peak is going to stay at the 45 to 50 pence peak range. So when it's peak time, there's going to be very little difference between the two. And if the Teslas are full, then people will happily come here, pay maybe 5 pence or 10 pence more per kilowatt hour than they would over there, but they can do it much quicker here. Where Tesla's going to gain is at the Trafford Centre, peak is 50 pence. And there's always queues there. It's a terrible one if you want to go and charge during the peak times. So Tesla have put the peak price up. It's the highest, I believe that's the highest in the country for the peak rate. But rather than just pure profiteering, what Tesla have done there, it's only 20 miles from here, they've dropped the off-peak rate down to about 35p, but they've introduced a super off-peak rate. And that super off-peak rate varies all the time. Last time I checked it, just a day or so ago, is 18 pence per kilowatt hour. Now, you've got to go there midnight. Yeah, okay, not ideal for most people, but if you can get there at midnight with a Tesla and you can charge for 15 minutes and get your full charge in 15 minutes for 18 pence a kilowatt hour, that's an absolute deal. So what Tesla's trying to do is get people out of peak hour and into off-peak. Because the silly thing about charging, everyone says there's not enough chargers. There's absolutely loads of chargers. It's just that everybody wants to use them all at the same time. It's a bit like coming back, they talk about, all turning kettles on during Coronation Street adverts or the World Cup adverts at half time. We use energy in a very inefficient way. If we can get people away from peak times, there's loads of chargers. If you come here, there's 12 Tesla chargers over there. Come here, 11 o'clock at night, nobody there. Go to Rugby Services, 11 o'clock at night, one car. We just don't use them properly. What we have to do as a group, as a collection of people, is start thinking, do I really want to go to a charger at peak time, queue up, and then pay a peak rate? Or can I rearrange my life slightly once a week, twice a week, whatever it takes, to go and charge my car off peak at half price? And that's what's happening. You see that already with your utility with cars. We are forced, or we choose, to charge our car overnight when it's cheap. That's absolutely brilliant. What we have to try and do is try and use some of the public chargers out on the road off peak. Anyway, coming back to Applegreen, I believe they're actually sincere. I believe they are changing. I believe they're seeing the investments go down on the petroleum side of the Applegreen Group. and I believe they see the potential for getting large sums of government money to invest in the equipment to give them an income, a revenue, and decent profit for the future. Massive amount of money going into green, into wind farms. Just the other day I was checking on figures, but 60% of all the energy, all the electricity in the UK was coming from wind. 60%, all of it. That's it. Get a couple more wind farms, a couple of solar farms, you'll run the whole of the country on renewable energy for significant periods throughout the day. The fossil fuel side of the electricity generation, again, that's fading off. There's not a lot of investment going into gas-fired power stations because that relies on the oil companies going out and finding the gas in places like the Arctic. And so they're coming out of favour as well. So you're finding this massive shift into renewable energy. I believe Apple Electric have dropped into that. They see a return on it. Blackstone certainly do, or they wouldn't be investing the money. So we can only hope that they are sincere. We can only hope that the adoption of EVs keeps on increasing. It is increasing, it's not dropping off. And these are starting to give them a real return for the money. And even when Tesla starts dropping the prices, we hope these will just drop the prices and make slightly less or a good bit less profit out of it, but still make a return sufficient for people to invest into Blackstone, to invest into this industry. So that's where we are at the moment. It's an interesting year ahead of us. I believe that by the end of the year, we'll see these chargers down to about 50 or 60 pence per kilowatt hour and offering freebies of all sorts. Maybe membership, you can drop it down to 40p. I don't know what they're going to offer, but they'll come down dramatically from where they are. I believe Gridserve and Tesla will start coming into conflict where Tesla does open up the chargers like at Rugby to everyone. They'd be silly not to, because they are opening up superchargers nearby here. And if people here can't get a decent, can't charge here, they'll just go to there. So this one will miss out. So what's happening is a big change. These will come down, Tesla will stay the same, maybe go up slightly in peak time, come down slightly in off-peak time, and we're all going to be able to benefit. It might involve some of us charging at times that we wouldn't normally choose to charge. You might one day, 10 o'clock at night, drive down to your nearest open to all Tesla supercharger and spend half an hour there over a cup of coffee or whatever it is you like, and getting advantage of a real cheap off-peak rate down in the 18 to 25 pence per kilowatt hour point of view. At that point, down at 18 pence, it's cheaper than home charging without any special tariffs. It's an absolute bargain. So at that point, people who don't have the ability to charge at home will be able to come here once a week, off-peak, 18 pence. It's a no-brainer. Anyway, thanks very much for watching. If you've enjoyed this, please click the like button. If you have any comments to make on what I've said, leave a comment down below. If you'd like to see more, please subscribe, and we'll see you next time when we're going to be having a look into Gridserve and seeing what they're doing to meet this challenge for 2024. I'm Dave.